A group of macaques discovers a white lion cub abandoned to die. And what they did next defies everything we thought we knew about nature. Why would monkeys protect a predator? Why didn't they run? What did they see that others didn't? Backhand index pointing down, tell us in the comments. Do you think animals know more than we realize? And don't forget to like and subscribe to follow more true wildlife stories like this one. The midday sun glared down upon the grasslands of the sanctuary, where waves of green danced in the breeze and scattered acacia trees cast sharp-edged shadows. Beneath one such tree, a lioness strained in labor, tucked behind a veil of thorny brush while the rest of the pride lounged lazily nearby. The air shimmered with heat, and the buzzing of flies hung heavy, uninterrupted. One by one, the lion cubs were born, warm, golden, wriggling. But the last one came differently. Its coat was not tawny like its siblings. It was pale, impossibly so, white as sun-bleached bone, its fur glinting like ivory under the blazing sky. The lioness paused, licking it gently, her body stiff with uncertainty. Her nostrils flared. The others in the pride had begun to stir. Murmurs of low growls and shifting paws signaled unease. Eyes narrowed. Even the older lionesses kept their distance. To them, the pure white lion cub was unnatural, an omen, a whisper of misfortune on the wind. The lioness lingered longer than most would expect. She nudged the cub once, then again. It responded with a faint mew, but instincts, honed over generations, pulled her toward the moving pride. Survival demanded obedience to the rules of the wild. She turned. She walked away, and the pure white lion cub was left behind, still slick with birth, beneath the watchful silence of the acacia. Alone but breathing. Shallow, soft, its legs tucked under its fragile body. Too weak to call, too new to know fear. Only the wind stirred now. The sun glared on. High above in a nearby acacia, a troop of macaques watched the landscape with idle interest. They rarely ventured down to the open plains, too exposed, too risky. But something had shifted. A flash of white had caught their attention. A rustle without predator. A shape, unmoving, beneath a thorny canopy. One of the older macaques grunted. Then, with sudden agility, it leapt to the lower branch and dropped to the ground. Others followed, one by one, until the dry grass rippled with a quiet procession of curious onlookers. They approached the pure, white lion cub cautiously, forming a loose, shifting ring around it. No screams, no panic, only a strange, still observation. Some cocked their heads. One reached forward and gently brushed a finger against the cub's paw, recoiling instantly, as if expecting it to strike. But the pure white lion cub didn't move. More joined the silent assembly. A young macaque leaned in to sniff the cub's flank. Another swatted away a fly from its face. Time moved strangely now, long minutes, maybe hours. The troop simply stayed, never touching an aggression, never sounding an alarm. They weren't guarding food. They weren't threatening a predator. They were simply there. In the world of the grasslands, macaques didn't gather on the plains. They didn't surround lion cubs. And yet here they were, unmoving, watching. A living barrier around something they didn't understand but didn't fear either. From a distance, it looked as though the pure white lion cub was being protected by ghosts of the trees themselves. Then, a rustle, a thud, grass bending under heavy boots. The macaques heard it too. Heads turned. Tension rose like electricity in the air. Something or someone was coming. Ranger Kieran had walked these plains 1,000 times, but something about today felt different. From his ridge post, binoculars pressed to his eyes, he scanned the horizon. A shimmer under one acacia caught his attention. Not the tree, but movement at its base. Then he froze. Monkeys. On the ground. Too many of them. He adjusted focus. They weren't running or eating. They were gathered. He set off at once. The grass hissed beneath his boots as he made his way down the slope, careful to stay downwind. His pulse quickened. He didn't draw his rifle. Whatever was happening, it didn't feel dangerous. As he approached, the troop stirred, shifting uneasily but not fleeing. One bold macaque bared its teeth, not in threat but warning. Kieran slowed. Then he saw it. Nestled at the center of the troop, in a cradle of flattened grass and warm shadows, was the pure white lion cub. He gasped. Its coat shimmered like snow beneath the sun, marred only by the faint dust and tiny cuts of the wild. Its sides rose and fell, faint but steady, ribs prominent, lips cracked. Its eyes were closed, twitching as if lost in some fever dream. Kieran dropped to one knee. The monkeys didn't scatter. They simply made space. He reached out and placed a hand beside the cub. The fur was warm. Barely. He could feel life, fragile as spun glass, beneath his fingers. No mother, he whispered. No pride. No chance. And yet, it had survived this long. Somehow, he removed his radio and spoke quietly. I have a lion cub. Unique coloring. Abandoned. Still alive. Preparing for extraction. Sending coordinates. He looked around at the monkeys. They were already retreating, one by one, fading back into the trees as if their work was done. Kieran lifted the pure, white lion cub into his arms. It didn't resist. Its tiny paws dangled limp, but there was trust in its stillness. Or perhaps only exhaustion. As he walked back toward the vehicle, he looked once more over his shoulder. Nothing remained beneath the tree but trampled grass and questions the wild refused to answer. At the sanctuary's Wildlife Rescue Center, the pure white lion cub became both a medical mystery and a symbol of resilience. Vets tended to its dehydration and treated sunburned skin. Milk was offered in small syringes. Every few hours, it was turned to prevent sores. Every day, it lived was a quiet miracle, and day by day it improved. The first time the cub opened its eyes, pale blue, rimmed with gold, Kieran was there. It blinked at him and gave a faint sneeze before curling into his jacket like a newborn seeking warmth. Kieran began documenting the recovery. Quiet clips, photos of the cub standing for the first time, playing with a strip of cloth, biting its shadows. He posted one image online, the cub beneath a tree, now upright and alert. The story took flight. People around the world were captivated. Articles labeled it the ghost of the grasslands. Conservation groups reached out. Artists sketched it. Children asked to adopt it. Elderly volunteers sent blankets with lion patterns on them. And through it all, Kieran couldn't stop thinking about the monkeys. Why hadn't they fled? Why had they gathered? Why protect a predator? The answers never came. But perhaps, he thought, they had seen something others could not. Not danger, not death, but life that refused to be extinguished. He took the pure white lion cub out for sunlight daily. It would sit beside him in the grass, watching birds flutter in the trees. Once, it walked beneath an acacia, its shadow barely stretching beneath the branches. Not abandoned anymore. In the open grasslands of the sanctuary, where life and death so often dance in silence, a pure white lion cub was left behind and somehow found. Not by its own kind, not by coincidence, but by something deeper, something watching. Maybe the wild remembers more than we understand. And maybe, just maybe, every life has someone watching over it. If this story touched your heart, help us keep telling stories that matter. Like, subscribe, and join us for more true journeys from the wild, where even the most unlikely lives can leave the deepest footprints.